Previously on Hockey Players on Zambonis Getting Pizza. This is a 1997 Zamboni ice resurfacing machine. This thing is a beast, and it perfectly relates to my two guests today, Steelheads defenseman Jeff King and Steelheads goalie Tomas Sholl.
That wasn't the first time you were riding a Zam, was it?
I don't believe so. I can't 100% confirm this, but I do think when I was a kid, to Joe Louis, we would go to some of the Red Wings games, obviously, and they would do the Zamboni ride-around thing in that seat that you got to sit in, the comfy seat. You get to sit in there and drive with the Zamboni in intermissions. I'm pretty sure I did that one time. I have to call my mom, but I'm pretty sure I did it.
Appreciate you coming out, getting like to eat.
Love it.
A little different, but Joey? Come to lunch. It's funny, we had ended up pulling you for doing essentially 5 things earlier this year, and little did we know that you were a big history buff, and you were actually the perfect guy to list the presidents. So what is it about history or just that specific academic realm that that really motivates you and what you really like about it?
I would kind of say I'm more of just a buff of learning things. I think most guys on the team would tell you that I'm kind of the team nerd.
Okay.
I've always liked history. I was always attracted to like World War II documentaries and stuff like that, just because I think like every story, like every movie is kind of like based on history, right? So like there's no better stories than what's kind of happened in the past. So I find it pretty entertaining and educational to learn about.
Was there any connection to it though? Like, I got stories from World War II from my grandfather, and I have relatives that have fought in other forms of the armed forces. Was there a connection to it, or was it just interest?
It's just kind of interest, yeah. Just growing up, like, I don't know if all kids do that, but I would just turn on the TV and like there'd be a documentary on or something, I'd kind of keep it on instead of changing the channel. So it just kind of always caught my eye.
Did you watch 101 Dalmatians?
I have seen 101 Dalmatians.
Have you ever been called lucky by your folks?
No. I've seen it a long time ago. I'm not familiar.
That's the dog that sits in front of the TV.
Okay. No.
I thought there might have been a natural connection there, but worth a shot. Speaking of history, though, we've been to a couple different places that have some historical context to it. You were the one that kind of brought up to the rest of the team that Independence was the home of Harry Truman.
Yeah.
I brought up the side it was the Oregon Trail, but yours is a lot cooler. In your travels in your hockey career, what's been one of the coolest places you've been to, one of the cities you've been to, from a historical standpoint, not even related to hockey?
Well, when I was in Evansville last year, what I thought was kind of cool was our mascot was the Thunderbolts, and on our jersey it was these like fighter pilots in a plane, and I didn't really know why that was, and I kind of looked into it, my mom looked into it, and it was because they built these Thunderbolt planes in Evansville, Indiana that fought in World War II.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, and like kind of made me like the logo a little bit more than I did, so I thought that was pretty cool. And they had like a World War II aviation museum there, so I thought that was really cool.
If you're a learning guy and you just like facts, I don't mean to put you in this realm, but do you watch Jeopardy avidly?
So that's actually funny you say that. When I go home, my little brother's the same way. Like, we probably just have stores of useless knowledge in both of our brains. So we'll sit down every night that it's on, me, my sister, if she's in town, she lives in New York now, but my sister, my brother, my mom, and myself, and we'll put Jeopardy on, and we'll try to keep score, we'll answer questions, and it gets really heated between me and my brother, because there's not a mediator like Alex Trebek there, so it's just me and him going at it, and we're yelling at each other, like, I got that first. So we get pretty into it.
Have you ever considered, like, at one point in your life, just jumping on it?
No, I don't think so. I think I'd probably freeze on the spot, honestly. I don't know if I have that kind of confidence to go on TV and do it.
Oh. You're on TV half the time listing presidents, so it's almost natural to do it the other way, right?
I suppose so, yeah.
There's a tie-in.
Yeah.
Are you a folder?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Is your entire family folders?
Yeah.
'Cause that's a more of an East Coast thing specifically.
Yeah, so my dad grew up in the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
Didn't move out to LA until he was 6 or 7, I think. So, I mean, his whole family's from the East Coast, New York, so.
And that's a funny difference, too, and it ties into hockey specifically, that your generation of California players grew up playing street ball mainly. Now, you did have a lot more time because of what your dad did to be able to get more ice time specifically.
Yeah.
So, how was your experience growing up learning the sport with that advantage, a little bit different from what you may have had with other friends or other people that you know also from California?
It was awesome. I never had a shortage of ice time, and I never had a shortage of good shooters. My dad, a little background for people who didn't know, my dad used to manage the rink in El Segundo where the LA Kings practice. So, like, we always had ice time. Like, whenever there was dead ice, me and my brother could hop on. And whenever there was, even if it was like LA Kings players or NHL players in the summer, if they needed a goalie, they'd be booking the ice with my dad, be like, hey, you know, a local goalie around. He's like, yeah, sure, my son.
Oh.
So I was able to jump out there with some pretty good guys growing up, and it was really awesome getting that kind of exposure to high-level players.
What was the first time you had to go with some of those high-level players, and do you remember vividly that first time, those first shots on net?
Yeah, so there's 2 times that kind of stick out in my head. The first time was the Kings had like some sort of development camp with some of the younger guys in town, and they didn't have any goalies. They had the goalies on a separate session, so they needed some guys just for their forwards and D to shoot on. And I think I was like 14 years old, and I went out there and did it, and I remember I was having a lot of fun. It was awesome. I didn't feel anything during it, but then afterwards I was like really sore. It's because I was wearing these like junior like level chest protectors and stuff, and I was just getting blasted by pucks. But it was really fun when it happened. And then the other time was in the summer. I ended up skating with Ryan Miller for years after this.
Yeah.
He's kind of become like a mentor to me. He's been really awesome, gives me advice during the summers, and just cool learning from him. But the first time I did it was probably that summer after that. So I was still 14, 15 years old. And I was getting dressed in the same locker room as this guy I've watched the NHL forever, and that was kind of a pretty surreal moment, and it's kind of stuck with me. And it's been really cool being able to continue that relationship and be able to skate with him every year too.
As you've set my finger on my head, as you've gone on in your career, you're still kind of still in the infancy of your pro career specifically. Do you start to see some of those ties? Because one of the big old adages is that hockey is a very close-knit community.
Yeah.
Even if it is pretty expansive, everyone knows everyone else. Do you start to see that more and more often now that you're running into people that you've run into before, have ties to that or the Kings specifically?
I mean, absolutely. My roommate in college is now playing for the LA Kings, so there's like a connection there. I see him in the summers when he's out training and stuff. My girlfriend's cousin is Eric Condra, who's been the leading scorer for Texas all year, so that's our affiliate, so it's a pretty close connection.
Yeah.
And when I was in Adirondack last year, he was in Syracuse, so not an official affiliate, but we sent a lot of guys up and down from there, so
Yeah.
it's been really close, and just guys that I played against in college and juniors, now I'm teammates with, or I see them now, so it's a small world, hockey, so it's cool to like kind of come full circle with a lot of people.
Yeah. There's no way you hadn't have ridden the Zamboni numerous times in your lifetime.
Actually, that was the first time.
Really?
Yeah, so I used to, when my dad was working at the rink as a GM, I had an after-school job there when I was in high school, and I worked there in the summers in between years of school, but I wasn't old enough to have my license, so I didn't get the Zamboni training or anything, so I never drove it, and there wasn't really ever a need to like ride it as a side, but I would always be filling it up and like change the propane tanks or whatever, but I never actually drove one.
So do you know the intricacies of a Zamboni without the actual operation of it?
I mean, I get the general idea. You have hot water and cold water. You gotta lower the blade, raise it. You don't want to get cut too deep. So, but I don't know if I know like everything that there is to know.
Well, a guy full of facts. I figured maybe a couple of them slip through or not. Let's focus on your year, because even in coming in from Adirondack last year, you did a whale of a run to finish out the year. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people took notice of that, started in through this year, and then kind of over time, you started to have a lot more time in net. Is there a point in the year where you felt something a little bit different for yourself that kind of helped elevate yourself to that next level, to that next level of consistency?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with last year, at the time, it could have been argued that I was just riding a high or playing hot or whatever it may be. So my goal this year is just to prove that it wasn't like a fluke, that I could consistently play well and not just have a good streak in this league, but be a consistent starter in this league.
No.
So that was kind of my goal coming in. And I don't know, I tried to just kind of calm my game down a little bit this summer, and just, it was working last year, but just to make sure you can do it consistently, you can't be relying on making desperation saves all the time. So I try to just focus on little things, tightening the game up a bit, and I think that's had a good impact so far.
You had last year Phil DeRossi and Ryan Farragher with you. This year, Rossi started the year a little bit, and you've had Colton Point that's also come in. What's the dynamic between the three of you like? Because from an outside perspective, a lot of people could think that it's a big competition, that you may not get along well, but usually that's kind of the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, and my experience with goalie competition is there absolutely is competition. Like, everyone wants to play, everyone wants to be the guy in net, but you can't let that cloud your interactions with guys away from the rink. Like, you leave what's on the ice, and you try your best just to be a good teammate and a good friend. And I think all three of us have done a really great job of that this year. I mean, at the start of the year, I wasn't getting the starts that I was hoping that I would. It was Farragher, Pointer, and Rosie are getting more games than I was. And at that time, my goal was to work as hard as I could in practice, to be ready when I got my chance, and support those guys so that they were getting the minutes that were going to help our team win games. And now that it's maybe a little bit reversed, I think everyone's really gotten behind each other. Like, whoever's not playing is patting the guy in the back and giving him waters or doing whatever it needs to be, just to, like, kind of help push him across the line. So it's been a fun group to be a part of.
As a goaltender, it's like there's a lot of sports that have this type of position, but the movement upwards is going to be a little bit tougher compared to playing as a forward specifically. So, again, you're still kind of in the infancy of your pro career, but even taking things from what you and Fedzi may have talked about, or what you know from Ryan Miller, what is that like for you specifically in your day-to-day operation, and being able to exude patience and being able to realize that that is what's really going to help in the end?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the advice I got from my college coaches a lot, was you have to take the season and your overall career especially, you can't look at it like from the 10,000 feet perspective from the top. You have to look at it from a day-to-day perspective and just take it like one step at a time. You can't be worrying about when am I going to get a chance at a higher level. You have to be worrying about the next game. Because then when you do the game, and they kind of build into a bigger picture, that's what's going to move you to your further long-term goals. So that's kind of how I try to keep it, is just keep it as short-term as I can, think about the now, and hope that takes care of the big picture later.
With the way this team has been this year, defensively, from a character standpoint of sticking up for each other time after time again, no matter who it is, as a goaltender in your perspective, how beneficial is that for you as you're settling into games and you're trying to continue that consistency?
Oh, it's awesome, because I mean, the pretty much only thing I have to worry about is making that first save. If I make the easy first save, I know my D are clearing the backside. I know they're taking care of what they need to take care of. So it's a level of trust. I think for them, they don't have to worry about a shot if I'm ready and on my game. They can worry about getting the passes or whatever it may be and let me take the shot. And simultaneously, I don't have to worry about those passes because I know my D are doing their job and the forwards are doing their job. So when everyone's firing all cylinders, I think it helps everybody just trust the system and play the way we're supposed to play.
You're on last year's team. This year's team obviously has a different feel compared to last year. What have been some of the differences that you've seen going from spring to fall and that have kind of ridden through this year that defines this year's team differently from last year's team?
I mean, I think last year's team was a really close-knit group, but I think even more so this year. Like, kind of the perfect example of like how close we are is we went on the longest road trip of the year. I think it was about a month and a half ago, something like that. We're on the road for quite some time. And the day before we went on this road trip, we had a group of like 15 guys go out to dinner together, which is something that we're going to be doing every single night on that trip. But we still just want to hang out and have fun, and like we're pretty much doing that all the time. Like we're never not hanging out as a group. pretty cohesive, and we basically do everything. We're like attached to the hip, like all 20 guys. So it's fun to be a part of.
Okay, so you've changed pads this year.
Yep.
You've yet to change your helmet from the white helmet. You came in with the Bowling Green style one from college.
Yeah.
Will there be a point that you think you'll actually paint it?
I would love to. I mean, I got to twist the beast's arm a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if it's in the budget or not, but it'd be really cool to get something. What would have to happen is I'd probably have to get my BG one back out here and wear that until this one got painted.
Sure.
I know me and Ryan, who just recently joined the White Bucket crew.
Yep.
White Bucket Bandits, or whatever we're gonna call ourselves. We haven't decided yet, but we were looking into like some companies that do like vinyl stickers to see if we could just do a cheap thing just for the rest of the year, and so there's potential in that. We'll see if it can be done before playoffs.
If you could take your time and really look at it, what would you put on it?
All right, that's a good question. This is going to come back to me being the team nerd a little bit, but in college, I think I would do a similar theme to what I had in school. I had a big logo from the team on one side, so I would do the Steelheads logo. And in school, I had our school mascot sitting on the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So I was thinking about doing the same thing, the Iron Throne, and then having, you know, the old Steelheads logo where it's like a goalie helmet made of steel?
Yeah.
Do like a knight, but have like that helmet on it.
Okay.
So it'll be like the Steelhead goalie helmet guy sitting on the throne or whatever it may be. So that's probably what I'd end up doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen some creative goalie masks around the NHL, pro hockey. What's been one of your favorite designs from another goaltender that you've seen? Not that you take it, but one that you really like and respect.
The one that's popping in my head right now was, just because it was really funny, it was Anton Khudobin. His nickname is Dobby, and there's the Harry Potter character Dobby, right? And he has that on his helmet with like goalie gloves on. So that's pretty funny. I thought that was really good when I saw that. And then I don't remember who it was, but it was someone on the Flyers. I'm blanking on who it was, but they had like all their teammates as zombies.
I think it was Michael Neuver.
It might have been, yeah. So like they had everyone on the team was like zombified. Like, so they had like Claude Giroux and Wayne Simmons and all these guys, but like zombie forms of them. So I thought that was pretty creative.
Do you think that there's something really nice about a classic look? Say, for instance, John Van Beesbrook with the Florida Panthers back in the heyday, where it's just the one giant panther head. You have
Eddie the Eagle with the Indian headdress. And,
Yep.
I know what you mean.
Doing that. Pecorine even doing that with the Predator too.
Yeah. There's been a couple guys this year who have done like a kind of a retro tribute mat. I think Mike Smith is doing. I'm trying to remember who the goal. Mike Vernon tribute mask. Like he had it painted like kind of like that old player style helmet. So it's just like red with white, and it kind of has like the cage painted onto it too. So that's kind of cool. And I think somebody else did one recently. So I think it's kind of cool. It's fun to like honor the guys that you grew up watching. So I grew up watching like Felix Potvin. He had the same mask. He just changed the colors every year.
Yep.
So I like that.
Sholl, I know we eat out a lot when we go on the road. What's the strangest place you've had to eat at, if you could think about it, when you've had to go on road trips? Not necessarily with us, but just in general.
Well, I know just last 2 weeks ago in Kansas City, there's a Twin Peaks in our parking lot, and I think our team had Twin Peaks like, I don't know, maybe 6 times on that trip. And then other than that, I'm looking for the closest semi-healthy food to Uber Eats at the hotel.
Well, you actually went right to a place that was across the street too that entire trip. We just went everywhere else with the vans.
Yeah.
We didn't want to eat at Twin Peaks every night.
Yeah.
Or Buffalo Wild Wings every night either. So
Yeah, so we let it happen. We went with the Twin Peaks quite a bit. Convenience is the number one thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Anything that's within walking distance, especially when it's about sub-zero wind chill.
That's key. Thanks very much for lunch.
Fun ride getting to and from?
Great.
And I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.